for the mind to perceive like shape and color, sound, taste, and so forth. So these 5 omnipresent factors, they're there with each moment of mind. And they say each moment of mind is incredibly short, like it's a 56th of a finger snap or 356th, very, very short. Yeah, and they're all kind of put together, and this is why then it looks like a little bit like a movie. So like one leads to the next. This is why also now the mind-blowing thing, which I didn't write in, that it is said in Buddhism, but again, you don't have to accept it, that this mind of ours has no beginning and will have no end. Because it's not matter, therefore it cannot be destroyed. And even with matter now, with science, we can see, can you really destroy something? Destroying means nothing remains, not even traces. Can you destroy something? No. Something will always remain. There's transformation, right? And sometimes it can, with material things, of course, it can be big transformation, like wood changing into ashes, and some of the wood kind of changing into heat when you burn it, and then it goes into the atmosphere, but then it still kind of continues. Something continues from it. So with the mind is the same thing. So what continues is this quality of knowing, yeah? And what we take with us when we go to next rebirth is our karmic imprints, like the residues or the traces that have been left through our actions of body, speech, and mind. We'll come to that. We'll talk more about this. Okay. So for each moment of mind, you need the one before. Same as for a flower, you cannot have nothing and then have a flower. Yeah, you need a seed, or you need a branch that you put in the ground, and then the same plant comes up or something. You need something of the same substance. So this is where the theory comes from, that this mind of ours has no beginning. Yeah, because it always needed the moment before. Strange when you hear it for the first time. If you start to really think about it, well, can there be a real beginning? Because I talked about this with the Jewish people the other day, and he said, well, no, God didn't create out of nothing. He said there was chaos. So that means there was something. So he's not a real creator. He is a transformer. Chaos into day and night, and into earth and water, and So again, it's okay, you know. So there was something. If it says at the beginning there was chaos, yeah. So there was something. Where did that come from? Also, did somebody else create it, or did it exist since beginningless time? So I really liked that when he said that. It helped me a lot. So, okay. So in each mind moment, there's some that are always present. So one is like moment of mind when the mind really perceives. Yeah. One is intention, means it's some kind of energy that directs the mind to the object. Yeah. Not so much a conscious intention, but it's something that directs the mind to the object. Then it's the contact. We have a mental factor that can make contact with outside objects. When you're sleeping, then it cannot make contact with outside objects, but still it makes contact with inner thoughts and all these kind of things. Then feelings or sensations, like when you have whenever you sound, smell, taste, touch, thought, whenever something comes up and you're aware of it, there's a reaction to it, which is either a pleasant feeling, or an unpleasant feeling, or a neutral feeling, like don't care, or like, nothing. Yeah? Like I scratch my nose right now, it's like, didn't have. It's neither pleasant nor unpleasant, but I feel it. I have a sensation of touch here, or whatever else you want to scratch. Okay? So whenever there's contact, then there's a sensation, then recognition, sometimes it's called discrimination, is a mental factor that knows differences. It knows that this one is different from this. Yeah? Mental factor that recognizes not the same. And then mental engagement, like then when you're really interested in the object and you start holding it And then you start to elaborate. Then the thoughts come. You know, it's a watch, it's my watch. Wow, it's working well, or it's not working well. Oh, it's so beautiful, or not so beautiful. Or in there somebody takes it, and oh, I'm so happy I have it. Or oh, I want another one, or whatever. Yeah, the whole story comes. But in each moment of mind, these five, this is why they're called omnipresent. They're always there. No, they're not so interesting. They're because they're there anyway. Then 5 ascertaining factors. Aspiration, belief, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Usually they say you need those for the path. But again, I'm not going into them because Geshe-man will do that. And then what is more interesting for us is the 11 virtues and the 11 virtues factors and the 6 root delusions out of the 20 secondary delusions come. You know the word delusion in Hebrew is what? Okay, now I can start a conversation here. What is it? Huh? Ashlaya. Right? Have you heard it before, or did you just say that now? You heard it before? From the Buddhist point of view. Very good. So it's not an illusion, it's a delusion, means the mind is distorted. The mind exaggerates towards one side and doesn't want to see the other side, and therefore creates an illusion. Yeah? So what is basically said in Buddhism is that this mind of ours, like the world out there, does not exist the way that we perceive it. Yeah? Kind of like, this is not a watch from its own side. If I would be a dog, I would definitely not see a watch, or a cat, or a spider, or whatever. I would see, if I'm a fly, I think, I can land on it, so it becomes a landing base, something like that. So basically, what is being said, that everything depends on the state of your mind. And Nagarjuna also said, if you understand your mind, you understand the whole universe. Okay? How the mind perceives, how the mind projects. The mind projects a real existence separate from it out there. And this is the illusion, that the delusion of wrong view of inherent existence is kind of creating. That the world is really the way it is, the way I see it or perceive it out there. And this is the key. This is what one is trying to understand, and trying to understand it on such a deep level that one then, out of this kind of dream of inherent existence that we believe is true, one wakes up and sees that everything just depends on the mind, or exists like as a dependent arising. That everything, for it to exist, needs a cause. Right? So this is the goal. This is what one is trying to do. For that, one needs to have a mind that is really calm and open, so then whenever there's negative emotions, affliction, sometimes they're called, or delusion, whenever that is present, then we create actions that are flawed, they're not based on reality, kind of thing. And so we create a karmic imprint, which then, again, results in habits, and the same thing happening to us. So then purifying this mind then becomes very, very difficult, okay? So it's basically, a dream exists, yeah? We agree with that. A dream does exist. Yes or no? Yes. But, there's a but there. But, why are you able to, even if you got really treated in a very bad way in the dream, why are you not depressed about this? Why don't you need to go to the psychotherapist because of your dreams? Maybe you need to go, I'm not sure. But usually, if you would go to your psychotherapist, we have a few therapists here. If you have a patient who comes and says, wow, imagine what happened in my dream, and he tells the story again and again and again, what happened in his dream, what would you say to him? Huh?
It's only a dream.
It's only a dream. Yeah. You really need to worry if somebody hangs on to their dreams as if they're real. Yeah. So why are we not Yeah, a dream exists. It has an effect on our mind. We're happy, we're frightened, we're angry, we're whatever, you know. Why doesn't it affect our life then so much that we get depressed or walk around happy the whole day because we had such a nice dream?
Doesn't affect the rest of our life, I guess.
Because it is, huh? Because you wake up and you understand, by waking up you understand that it's not true, it's not real, exactly. It exists, but it's not real. So our existence that we have here, very much the Buddha said, you are dreaming and you don't realize that you are dreaming. The dream of a real existence out there. A dream, you know, when the dream, the other guy who was running after us, or the train, I always miss trains and planes, yeah, it's terrible. When I run after trains, or, you know, we're in a hurry to go to the airport, you can't imagine how many times. Yeah, but then I come up, or I lose my passport, so many times. So, so then I understand the situation is not real, so I can let go. But while I was dreaming, it was very real. I was afraid, I was frustrated, I was trying to hurry up and all this, and I wasn't happy at all. Yeah. So the moment you wake up, you go, wow, great, it's not true. So I don't know exactly what this waking up from this dream of inherent existence, what it will be. It will be just as much relief as we do when we wake up from having missed the plane. I'm not sure. Probably much bigger than that. Yeah? But then it's not finished. So some Buddhist schools say, well, then it's finished. Suffering is finished, but also your existence is finished. Your mind goes into what is called eternal peace. What we are talking about here, the mind is not going into eternal peace. The mind works further on developing incredible qualities of like universal compassion, universal wisdom in terms of knowing everything. Like really knowing, for example, the capacities of somebody, knowing if you become their spiritual friend or something, knowing exactly what they need to hear. You know, like knowing, for example, being a psychologist who knows exactly what the person can take and what the person cannot take. So because even if you know that the person needs to hear it, but you know they can't take it, so you don't say it. Yeah. So this is like becoming awakened. That's the goal, to be omniscient. Like really knowing the qualities and the capacities of everybody, so that you know how to help them. And I know that sounds very fantastic, doesn't it? It's like you become Superman or Superwoman, but not necessarily in a human form. I think this is what, again, where we have problems of grasping what this is all about. Because we take it all, you know, this whole thing about Buddhahood or a full awakening, we take it down into our ordinary existence as it is now. Of course, we're not going to be like this. So it is said, you know, one says that the Dalai Lama is a Buddha. He always says, no, I'm just a simple monk. I mean, if you look at him, but there's also other people I knew, or I met, who were at very old age, they were still very active and with their mind, like incredibly clear and very compassionate and all that. Stefan Essel, I don't know if you ever heard about him, French philosopher who lived until 95 or something. So I met him once in Toulouse when he was together with the Dalai Lama, and they were kind of having a conference with each other, and I was just sitting next to them because they were standing here, we were sitting on the stage, and it was like also to see this old man. He wasn't beautiful, he was, you know, wrinkled and big nose, probably Jewish also. Essel, yeah, Essel. So like French they say Stefan Essel, but it's Hessel, and the compassion and this calmness and this peace that kind of oozed out of him. It was like, I could have just hold on to his legs. So I'm not saying the Dalai Lama is the only one, but I just watched like a 3-hour teaching of him. He's 85. You know, he's sitting, he was in Switzerland, so it was on webcast. He's sitting motionless kind of for 3 hours, and he's just teaching. He has 3 texts, and he draws everything from Buddhism, down, he draws it together like this. And it's like, it's amazing, 85, you know, no notes, no nothing, just the text, just the root text. and to be, mentioning all the 17 scholars of Nalanda, of which maybe I know 3 of them, like, So I thought, ooh, pretty close to maybe enlightenment, and also his humor that he has, and also his sadness that he can show when somebody tells a sad story, he starts crying. 3 seconds later, it's finished, and he lets go. It's kind of like when it rains and you have like lotus leaves or something, or duck's back. Do you have ducks in Israel? Yeah. So when it rains, when it makes like these little drops, and it just kind of rolls down without making them wet. Also, so for me, it's a little bit like that. He feels the pain of somebody else. He really feels it, and when you are together with him, also you don't want to go away anymore. Even though he can be quite stern sometimes. It's just not just that. Yeah, you're doing fine and all this. He can really push you. So it is said that he's a Buddha, but when they talk about what a Buddha is, then they talk about different bodies of the Buddha and all this. So it's quite, not having a gross body. They choose to take a gross body if the karma of people is right, to manifest in a human body so that they can make contact with us. But otherwise, like, the qualities are not something that one thinks like a human has. And then the Dalai Lama, when he is asked about this, he always kind of plays it down. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie which is called The Heart of Tibet. It's many years ago. He was in San Francisco and he was giving Kalachakra initiation. So they had like a press conference. So there's a journalist who kind of looks at him. The journalist, of course, doesn't have any glasses. He looks at him and says, "Your Holiness, if you look at the world through your eyes, I am sure you see something different than I see. What do you see?" He goes, like this. He looks at him like this. And so Dalai Lama said, "I didn't understand." So then he said, "If through your eyes you look at me, what do you see?" So then the Dalai Lama takes off his glasses and he said, "Well, I think you see much better than I do, because I need glasses and you don't." So you see, he wasn't kind of saying, "Oh, I see emptiness and I see conventional truth and I see this." He always plays it down. So, or sometimes people, they ask questions or comments. They say, "Well, I came here and I felt really depressed, or I was sick, and now I'm healed, and it's thanks to your presence." And then he says, "Well, if I could heal, the first person I would heal is myself. My knees are very bad, and I get pain, and sometimes he has a cold." He said, "I would heal my cold. I can't." So yeah, he doesn't really want to be like that. But when you know him, and also when you go to his teachings, especially this is the thing, when you know the teachings and to see how he is able to draw all these very complex things together, so that it makes sense. It's like you go like, wow, some ordinary mind, I don't think is capable of doing that at 85. Yeah, so like that. So that is the goal, is to attain that state. And the state is like having universal compassion, means for everybody. And again, that doesn't mean that you let everybody do what they want to do. That is not compassion. A mother who lets her child do whatever the child wants to do, for the child to have like temporary happiness, watching all the TV programs, eating all the food, not doing homework, not going to school, lying in bed, whatever. Do you think it's a good mother a compassionate mother who lets the child do that? Okay, so then why, when we talk about developing loving kindness and compassion, people are always afraid by thinking that they will have to let everybody walk over them? It's not like that, But you lose your self-centeredness. Like, the compassionate act is not just for your benefit, but same as a mother, it's also for whomever you interact with, that you think that that you have thoughts like, whoever sees, hears, and touches me or thinks about me, may it only be of benefit to them. It's such a nice thought. When you get up in the morning and you think, today, whoever sees, hears, touches me or thinks about me, may it only be of benefit to them, meaning may it only bring them happiness. Do you think a good motivation to start the day? And then what's the fear there? Oh, then people won't respect me, and they will walk over me, and they, if I'm nice to them, they will think I'm a friar. Okay, you're a friar, so what? Two people conflict, one needs to be the friar. Why not you? Why does everybody think the other one needs to be the friar? You can take this role voluntarily. We have signs like this if you want. In the Yom Kippur, somebody asked you for the sign, isn't it? Yeah. But you need to have a lot of healthy self-confidence if you want to do that. Yeah, but that's the goal. That's the goal, that somebody hurts you or somebody cheats you or whatever. You try to protect yourself, but for the benefit of the other one, that he doesn't create the negative karma. Now again, that can be total excuse. You're very aggressive for the benefit of the other one, so he doesn't create the negative karma. Or that can be just an excuse and you just want to protect yourself, you don't care about the other one. So what does this depend upon? Whether it's an excuse or whether it's really genuine? What does it depend upon? Huh?
Motivation?
Yeah, of whom? Which motive? Of whom? The motive, yeah. So it depends on you, nobody else. So don't go around telling that people are hypocrites. How do you know? You don't know their motivation. We only know that we are hypocrites. If we hide behind a very nice motivation and say, oh, I love you so much and blah, blah. But what it inside here, we don't really care, and we just want the person to bugger off. Yeah? And very often we think we have a good motivation, but when we really look, yeah, this is where mindfulness comes in, to really know what's going on in the mind. Yeah. Now at the moment there's so many mindfulness. Have you heard about this mindfulness movement? Yeah, you have. So it's great. It's really good. But also the purpose of mindfulness should be. It would be nice if it would be included in there, because the purpose of mindfulness is not to make you happy now. But it does. This is the problem. I mean, sometimes, not always. Sometimes what these people promise you, it's like, what do they say, a bit of, sit and then you get rid of depression and all this. Yeah, for a short while, that's true. I'm not saying it's not good, but the purpose of mindfulness is to see when a negative emotion comes up in your mind, so you can prevent yourself from doing a negative action. And then you don't create more negative karma for your future suffering. This is what mindfulness is all about. Mindfulness, awareness. To know what's happening in the mind, and then to be able to change it. You see, the motivation may be very self-concerned, and then you still do the action, but you change your motivation. That's what mindfulness is for. Yeah? To know what's going on in the mind. And mindfulness also, like the last day, we will be, if you want, you will be taking vows for 24 hours. So one takes vows, one makes promises in Buddhism, like in other religions, I think also belief systems as well, not to do certain actions. And this is like when you learn to ride a bicycle as a kid, you need these two little wheels at the side. Yeah? Or at the beginning now they make new ones, so the kids learn balance better, but you don't have pedals. You have your feet on the ground. So this is also like the two wheels. Yeah? So you need them. Then after a while, when you have trained to be ethical, and very naturally you do not do, because you're habituated to not doing negative actions anymore, then you can take the wheels off, and then you can let the mind more free. Then you don't need the vows anymore. Yeah, but at the beginning we take them, so it gives like a border. We put a border for ourselves. We say until here, but not further. Like, I like these flowers. I have a garden at home, they would fit, I have a hole there, and I think, at the end of the course, so many, and I don't know where they will go, but anyway, I'll take it home. That's stealing, not taking what has not been given. Yeah, so then you have a vow of not stealing, then you go, no, I leave it here. And then maybe somebody gives it to you, or you can ask. You can say, what will happen to the flowers? Can I please have it? But then it's not stealing. But this is, you can make promises not to steal, not to kill, not to da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. We'll talk about them the day before, if you want to take them or not. Okay. So much for the goal, so much for what the mind is. Almost 9 o'clock. How are you doing mentally? Are you still alert? Then maybe we look a little bit at the second page. Kind of the, what does it say? Like the principle of the Buddha's teachings. So there's different, what is called different vehicles. Okay? Yanas, they're called sometimes. Systems. One is called sometimes Theravadin, one sometimes is called Hinayana. The English translation, which I think also His Holiness the Dalai Lama is using, is the founder vehicle, which I really like, because that's the foundation. This is what came first. And this is what it says here. The first teaching of the Buddha. He was saying there's the noble truth of dukkha. Okay, suffering, so we will talk about it. What kind of suffering? It's not just suffering of pain, because when I heard this the first time, because I've been an alcoholic, and then when I became Buddhist, I'd already given up, and I was not so much into, because then after the alcohol, I became addicted to food, so I couldn't stop eating. So that was also kind of on its way out a little bit. So I thought, oh, I have overcome so many problems already. What they're telling me, I'm not suffering. Also, I was kind of traveling around, in the South Pacific mainly, and in Asia for 3.5 years. So they came to tell me I'm suffering. So I needed to hear a bit more what it was meant. So there's different levels of suffering. So it's not just the suffering of pain. Basically, what I started saying to young people when they want to know what Buddhism is all about, I started saying, in life, it's very easy to be frustrated, and it's very stressful. Life in general is stressful. You think it's true or not? Yeah, it's very easy to be stressed. It's very difficult to get something that we really can totally relax into it, and nothing is disturbing our peace of mind. We have moments like this, but how long do they last? And how much effort do we need to put into that? If it's depending on an outside thing. Or even if it's depending on inner peace of mind. How many hours, my gosh, do you need to invest in just sitting and watching your mind for the mind finally to be a little bit more spacious and a little bit more calm? Huh? There's sitting somebody there who's done long retreats. I tell you my dream. 2 days ago I dreamt I was starting a 3-year Vajrayogini retreat. I was sitting on there, and there was a table, and also the water is coming, and whoosh, the whole thing drowned. All my texts drowned. And I was very happy. I woke up, I was very happy. I didn't even, because I kind of thought, maybe I get new texts or something, but at the moment, what is important, I'm starting this 3-year retreat. If I would have to do that now, like awake, I'd be scared to go into retreat 3 years. I don't think I could stand it. I'm not such a brave person. You see, very often people think going into retreat is an escape. Whoa, it's very difficult to be in real retreat. What we do here is not a real retreat. I'm talking about months or years of doing the same thing again and again and again and again and again. It's like that. So life in general is suffering, and is kind of stressful, and it's very easy to be frustrated. Because of many things, because of, for example, that everything is impermanent. Everything material is impermanent. Everything always falls apart. So we have to kind of do so that it keeps up. It comes a little bit further down. And this has to be understood. Now, he said these 4 things, they go together. So it's not just the first one and then he stopped, because that we know. We know that life is stressful and suffering and kind of unsatisfying. Because why also is unsatisfying? Because you lead a life, it's a lot of struggle, and then you have to go. You have to leave everything behind that you build up. How satisfying is that? It's like cooking a very good meal and then throwing it away. And even though as we're still alive, this whole thing starts to crumble.